All right, so let's do this. My name is PD Alleva. I write horror novels. I write sci-fi, fantasy novels as well about alien vampires attempting to subjugate the human population after World War III. Badass shit. Fact. Also, I'm writing an urban paranormal fantasy. I guess that's what you call it. It's a thriller. Liza Ward, 1990s. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Murder, Mayhem, and Grunge. This is Liza Ward and Girl on a Mission. Anyway, we're here to talk about Golem, and that's my new psychological horror novel. And it comes out October 5th, currently on pre-order. And so this is a little excerpt from Golem. All right, so let's get you up to speed here. Okay, so Golem takes place in the late 1940s, early 1950s. Follows a new detective. His name is John Ashton, and he is assigned to the missing persons unit of the New York Police Department. And his first case is to find the district attorney's missing daughter. But his only lead is Alina Francone. And Alina Francone is a high society sculptor, philanthropist, and also someone who's been committed to Bellevue's psychiatric facility for the past, I think it's 6 or 9 months at this point. So John goes to question her about the DA's missing daughter, and when she's there, she tells him the story of Golem and how she incarnated a demon into a statue that she created. All right, so this particular scene that I'm going to be reading here is the scene right before the day that Golem becomes incarnated into the statue that Alina created on her own. Now, also at this point, I do need to give some backstory here. All right, so about a year and a half before this scene, Alina Francone's father died of cancer. After he died, Alina also lost her mother when she was 12 years old. After her father died from cancer, Alina met a guy named William or Bill Astor, all right, and fell in love with this guy. He was kind of an asshole, but she fell in love with him anyway. And what happened is she gets pregnant, and in 1947, if you get pregnant, you don't go out and tell people and, throw great parties. You keep that shit a secret until you get married. So they plan, Alina and William plan to get married before the pregnancy becomes common knowledge to everyone. Okay. So a week before the wedding, Alina is in the village with a couple of friends of hers, the bridesmaids as they're called. One whose name is Crystal, and you'll need that information for what we're about to read. Okay. So when she meets the gypsy woman in the village, everything changes after that. She loses her child. Her fiance breaks up with her. And for the last 3 months, she has been pretty much completely by herself in a 62-bedroom mansion in the Hamptons. And she has been creating this statue. About 2 months prior to this, her friend Crystal had come for... My hair's all fucked up. That's all right. Crystal had come just to say hello. Hadn't seen her in a while. And that is when Alina found out about the gypsy woman. Okay, because the incident with the gypsy woman is completely banned from her memory at this point. She's not even aware of what happened or how it happened or anything that went on in the gypsy woman's palm reading office, shop, store, whatever the hell it is. So, yeah, I think that's it. So we could begin. Let me think. Let that go. What else? I'm just trying to think. Is there anything else you need? Well, what I'll do is I'll start reading, and if something comes into my head that I need to remind you of or tell you to give clarity, we'll go ahead and get that done. Not a problem. So, all right, let's kind of get a nice reading here. I don't know if you could hear that, but I got Aretha Franklin playing in the background in my kitchen. If I scream right now to tell Alexa to shut it off, probably bring your ears. So if you could hear Aretha Franklin, that's awesome too, because Aretha friggin' rocks. That's all. All right, so here we go. She completed the statue after midnight on December 26th. He became more than she had imagined. Delicate yet strong, courageous, although compassionate. A leader who captured the pain of his people on his shoulders and in his eyes. Completed and marveled over, yet his manifestation brought Alina a sense of loneliness. She'd obsessed over him for so long that, now that he was complete, she experienced loss, and she wanted more from him. I love you, she told him, standing with a bottle of wine in one hand, a glass in the other, sipping slowly as she had been most of the day. Now in the wee hours of early morning, just after 3 a.m., brought silence, and with the silence the air changed the sting of cold winter air. She'd lit a fire, which burned relentlessly, casting shadows on the walls. The crackling, popping wood received the breath of air from the chimney, raging the fire into a fury. Windows, buffeted by the outside wind, seemed to be on the verge of splintering, cracking, and caving with shards of glass blown across the sitting room. She took a sip of wine, held the acidic liquid on her tongue before swallowing. Her eyes, stiff and staring, gleamed admiration and frustration. "Tell me your name," she whispered. His eyes were brought alive by the flames that didn't reflect off the marble, but were captured by it. Swallowed by his soul. She wanted to lie in his arms, to fold herself in his embrace, to take that hand in hers, the hand that stretched toward her, palm up, as if he summoned her to take him. "Take my hand," he would say. "Give yourself to my embrace. Kiss my eyes, my forehead, my lips. Declare your love for me, an undying forever love, and I will protect and keep you always. Neither sickness nor tragedy will ever befall you. The world will appear beautiful always." Alina went to him, and for a brief moment she thought he moved, that he was watching her, anticipating her every movement, willing her to him. Both glass and bottle dropped from her hands. The glass shattered, bottle clanged against the marble tile, then rolled to a stop. Wine gurgled from the open bottleneck. Alina heard neither. She stepped on the stool beside the base, never turning her eyes from his. She placed her hand in his, and as she stepped up, it was as if his hand had helped her. Okay, quick interlude. So the statue that Alina created is about 7 feet tall, all right? So it has a 3-foot base, and then the rest is him 4 feet, but he is crouched down. So he's in a crouched down position with his hand out like that, all right? Kind of like studying, whatever, like come to me type of shit. So if he was to stand up himself, he would probably be about 7 feet tall himself. But remember, there's a 3-foot base. Okay. Her lips were shaking when she said, "I dream of you every night. I close my eyes and you're there. When I wake, you're still there." She leaned her head in his palm, gazing into those fiery eyes. "Wake up," she said. "Please wake up, for me, for love and for beauty. Let me look on you with admiration and wonder." Shadows flickered across the statue, providing an appearance of slight, subtle movements. Her eyes, wide and staring, wanting to will life into the statue as a single tear fell from her right eye. Alina caught inside the pain from the past, as if the devil's hand captured sadness and squeezed it into her heart. Tears now in both eyes. She lifted her head from his hand, Alina's fingertips gently caressing the palm line she'd created, and the tears fell into his palm. "I give you a long life." She referred to the palm line she crafted, then looked at him. "You should be grateful." Alina wiped the tears off his palm, brushed those wet hands across the smock she wore, then wiped her eyes as she sniffled. And she laughed at herself, at the ridiculous wish that the statue would respond, that she wanted the statue to spring to life, to take her in his embrace and never let go. She glanced at his eyes, hoping he would turn those flames in her direction. "No," she said, then shook her head. turning away, her eyes roaming, to the floor, to the ceiling, to the walls and fireplace, avoiding his eyes because she knew he would not look at her, and she hated him for it. This statue, born from the depths of her soul, was already gone, had already abandoned and betrayed her, refusing to manifest her wish and desire. Alina took the bottle off the floor by the neck. A small amount of wine remained. She walked with grace to the fireplace. The crackling fire devoured its wood prey as she watched the statue reflected in the Victorian mirror above the mantel, hoping and praying that he would move now that she wasn't in front of him. Paying no mind to the sweat, soot, and marble dust disturbed by smeared tears on her face. Her greasy hair seemed like marble in the way the hair matted within thick gobs across the forehead and down the back of her neck. She set the bottle on the mantel and her eyes fell on the letter, still sealed. In front of the letter was the gypsy statue, and she looked on it with a puzzled stare as if she'd never laid eyes on the gypsy before. Sorry. Some people just have bad timing. I gotta call them now. I'll get in touch with them later. I needed to stop anyway. Okay, so what is talking about? All right, so when her fiance ended the relationship, ended the marriage, and this is after she had lost a child and stuff like that. So when he called off the wedding and ended their relationship, he had sent her a letter. Now, when Alina got this letter, she knew exactly what was in the letter. The wedding had been called off. Their relationship was done. She never opened that letter. She took the letter, put it on her mantle above her fireplace, and there the letter has been for the past, at this point, like 4 months. All right. So the gypsy statue that's referred to here. So I'll read it again. She set the bottle on the mantel and her eyes fell on the letter, still sealed. In front of the letter was the gypsy statue, and she looked on it with a puzzled stare as if she'd never laid eyes on the gypsy before. This is a small statue that she was given by the gypsy woman in the gypsy's shop on that fateful night. So this was a gift that was given to her, but the gypsy, this small little gypsy statue, had not been there before. Okay. For protection, she heard these words as if they came from the dark recesses of her mind. Something that had been locked away but now peeked its head through a crack in the door and requested entrance to Alina's thoughts, to survey if the coast was clear and all was safe before revealing itself. She took up the statue and, as if a trap door had opened, the memories flooded into conscious thought. Alina saw the gypsy woman, the palm reading, and the goat. Remembered how sick she'd gotten, the hospital, and the aftermath. Her stomach wrenched with a stinging pain. Acid gurgled in the back of her throat. She tightened her grip on the statue. Her hand was trembling, lips quivering, and the memories drove into consciousness. But she did not believe them, did not believe that any such occurrence had taken place. Alina questioned her sanity as she stood by the fire, glaring at the statue, trembling within a shaking grip. The fire served as a backdrop, framing the gypsy statue. She could hear Crystal's voice. Crystal's her friend that had come a couple months before. We thought the gypsy woman had something to do with it. Did I hear her right? Alina thought. She turned to her statue, as if believing he would offer an answer. Is it even real? She hollered. How did this gypsy figurine find the fireplace mantel? The memory surfaced, being handed the small gypsy statue by Alleva. Alleva's the gypsy. Then she saw the gypsy statuette on the carpet before losing consciousness so many months prior. Those tender gypsy eyes staring, unmoving, as Alina's eyes had closed. It all seemed like a dream, like drifting within a waking trance with no understanding where reality began and the dream ended. Had the statue been on the mantel all these months? Alina thought. How could I not have noticed it before today? Because she never looked or gave so much as a glance at the mantel, diverting her eyes from the letter every time she stoked the fire. No, she was certain the figurine was not on the mantel earlier that day, and without a doubt was not present when she'd added wood to the fire a few hours ago. She could not be certain about the memories, however real they now seemed, or Crystal's declaration. She could be filling gaps in her memory, attempting to make sense of this new revelation. Did you? Her voice trailed off, glaring at her statue, her new man, unmoving, with the exception of the shadows that animated his resonating bones. Her stomach twisted. Acid gagged her throat. She dropped to her knees and vomited, feeling the goat inside her, a lingering sensation, a listening pressure in her abdomen. Can't be, she pleaded. None of this is possible. She cried, tears streaming from her eyes, down those thin cheeks, pooled on the jawline where they hung briefly before falling in small drops to the floor. She coughed and gagged as the fire's heat burned her skin. Her body shook. She gazed at the gypsy in her hand, clenching the statue. You took everything from me. Lips quivering, she squeezed the statue. Everything! Her face constricted, squeezing with angered rage. The gypsy cracked in her hand, slicing through her palm as she squeezed even more. Blood dripping in streams escaped between her fingers. Her fist was trembling when she opened her hand. Small crushed porcelain pieces fell to the floor. Remaining in her palm was the statue's backside, and she could now see the evil eye staring at her. An eye had been painted on the inside. For protection, she heard the voice again. That's what Alleva had said. The gypsy statue meant protection for whomever it was given to. The only protection I needed was from you, Alina thought. She let the remains drop from her palm and she sat on her legs, cradling the bloodied hand. My God, she cried, holding the trembled, blood-streaming hand close to her chest as she rocked back and forth. I've completely lost it. Her body jerked. Alina's legs flopped from beneath her, and she sat now on her backside, holding her wrist, watching and staring as the blood kept coming. Bleed to death, she thought, for all I care. Life is a cruel trick that God gets off on playing, and hope is nothing more than a delusion. She raised her head, her eyes to the back of her skull. She saw the goat, heard the clunking bell as the beast mounted the cot. The thought disgusted every inch of her, tainted every thought, and constricted every muscle. She felt Alleva's hands on her wrists. Alina stood. She heard the bell, heard the bah. Alina went to the statue, her statue. She saw the goat snicker. Her lips trembled. Alina was gazing at the statue with no ability to see her statue. She heard Alleva chanting, Adios, O Baphomet. Alina held her clenched fist high over her head, squeezing the blood into droplets that fell from her palm. Adios, O Baphomet. You come to me, she said, her voice gripped with anger. You come or I will be no more. Blood dropped on the base. Do you understand me? Streaming down the base with the thick liquid pooled to where the marble protruded from the smoothness like an overhang for the floor. Alina scowled at the statue, whose eyes raged with fire. She dropped her fist. Hear me, she whispered, but the statue remained silent, unmoving, and unwavering. You're all I have, she said, her head now bowed, staring at the blood droplets cascading down the marble, as if the stone was slashed by bloodied talons. Now, outside, snow arrived with a relentless fury that turned night into a blanket of white reflected by the moon. The fury pelted the windows like white hail. Alina shook her head. She walked away to her room to attempt to find some form of peace within sleep, a rest that took her willingly and quickly. Should she have stayed to watch the furious falling blankets of white, she would have seen how her blood was absorbed into the marble. She would have known he was arriving. She would have witnessed the transformation that could only be born from the depths of agony. Dun, dun, dun. There you go. That's I love that scene. I really do. It's creation. As an artist myself, a writer myself, I understand that creative process and what it's like when it's done and you're kind of just going at it with your creation. It's it's definitely good. But also just the point that this is right before she's willing him to come into this statue. She wants him to come into this statue. It's like she feels like if he was alive, if he was hers, everything in life would be just fine, and be careful what you wish for. That's a definite fact. So, yeah, that's it. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Golem, is available. It's out there. So pre-order, go to Amazon, and enjoy the book. Definitely enjoy the book. You could go to my Facebook reader group, PD Alleva's Alternative Fiction Reader Group and Book Club. We're reading Golem, this book, right now in the book club. So if you're a Facebook fan, get on there, go for it. Would love to have you in the discussion. And if you're not a Facebook type of person, go to pdalleva.com, sign up for my newsletter, and I giving away some free copies there too. So, not bad. You could definitely get a free copy and read it before it comes out, and that would be awesome. So, yeah, definitely. If you like books like Silence of the Lambs or The Shining, Interview with the Vampire, those type of feel, like narrative type of books, you're going to love Golem. So, I think that's it. 21 minutes, not bad. Get this going. And thank you for listening. Enjoy.